it looks like we have a number of people online. And first of all, we want to say welcome to all of you, and we hope this is going to be a helpful moment for everybody in terms of answering some questions. I also want to share from our superintendent and our assistant superintendents that they have seen people going online, working all spring break, going above and beyond, and they couldn't be more appreciative, and just like we are, couldn't be more impressed by how much you all are doing to meet kids where they are and to also get this done, even though none of us planned for this and we're all in kind of a new realm. So thank you to all of you. If people don't say it enough, I think our schools are obviously a foundational piece of our community, and we're making sure families are fed, we're making sure they're educated, making sure they get what they need, and that's all because of both our teachers and our ESPs. So thank you all so much.
And we'd like to thank you again for showing great patience and perseverance this week and last week as you guys were getting ready to do the e-learning and kind of diving in. We understand that there have been some hiccups and some little bumps in the road as we go, namely getting into your Ideas account or EDSB, but we appreciate you keep going back and getting in there. I too live with an elementary school teacher and understand the trials and tribulations of getting up early and getting right into your EDSB to say, hey, can't get in there right now, but with a little bit of time you get in there, and I believe that today was a lot better than it was yesterday, and we're hoping that tomorrow was even better than today. So thank you for everything that you're doing and the patience that you're showing. The first thing I'd like to start off with is the attendance policy. And we kind of sent that out on Sunday afternoon once we got firm confirmation from the district, and we just want to maintain what you should all be doing for attendance, and that is, as per the email from the superintendent, that we're looking at a daily attendance, but we're recording it and monitoring it weekly. So if you look at the document and the paper that was sent with the packet on how we're doing e-learning, there are many different ways that a student can show that they were in attendance in a given week, including logging into EDSB, getting into their assignments, participating in a Zoom meeting or a face-to-face lesson, or working on the paper packets that they might have been given from their school site. So that opens us up for a couple of things. Let's talk first about our Zoom meetings or face-to-face meetings that you might be having with your students. We'll begin by saying that they are not required.
Not required at all. So if you're not comfortable with Zoom or another form of video lessons, you are not required to use that platform. It works very well in some cases. We know some people who are loving it, but we also know some people have more challenges. It obviously also takes up more bandwidth. And so you are not required in any way to use Zoom, although it is available to you as an option.
Once again, if you want to try it with your students, I know that even this week, Zoom has made some changes so that way you could see all of your students, but they can't see each other. They've done things where you could pick the background that you want to have so that way they don't need to see into your office or your bedroom or wherever you're delivering said lesson. We are bringing you this lesson brought to you by our HCTA building. We put our little logo up here. It's actual, it's not a virtual background.
Yes,
How about that?
no.
Yeah. Or you could do that.
Yeah. One other thing we want to talk about, I want to sort of drive home the point of, I would call this holistic attendance, because I think it is also relevant to those of you asking about logging on every day. We are going to the district. We know different schools have had different policies in terms of how you all are logging in as employees. One thing we want to say is our main goal, you obviously are going above and beyond and making a transition that no one expected and trying to do the best for kids. And so in that regard, we want you treated like professionals. If your kids, for instance, one of the reasons we're going to holistically look at kids is we don't know what their home circumstance is. We don't know if they're sharing computers among 5 kids. We don't know what kind of access everyone has. Parents are probably working from home too, and that uses resources. Not to mention many of you in high school, I know my own middle and high school kids are not looking to get up at 8:30 necessarily to start school. And so it may be flowing a little differently depending on the age of kids you teach and the sort of family situations of the kids you teach. And so in our mind, we should not be necessarily holding you to as stringent a day. We are going to get more clarification, hopefully, with the superintendent in the next day or so. There's obviously a school board meeting scheduled right now, so we couldn't get that right today. But our goal is not to have people doing stringent attendance, because the reality is, if you log in at 7:30 and no kids are available and you can't get certain things done, you may have to be flexible. And so in that regard, we want to send a maximum flexibility message to all the principals. So please do talk to your CTA rep. We know many of you have. If you're being held to a stringent type of attendance policy, that's not what we have in mind, and so we want to make sure we get clarity on those.
And that brings us right to the idea of logging. Okay, there are things, and there's been a lot of talk of what should we be logging while we're doing our e-learning. For the most part, anytime you're having any contact with a parent, be it through an email or a phone call, you should be logging parent contacts. Quite honestly, I believe that was a typical policy that we've been following for years, that you would always keep a log of those contacts. Now, when you are delivering lessons and you are offering assignments and different things for your students to be working on, you don't need to log that. That's already there in our EDSB, so that way it's already documented and part of our public record. If your principal, kind of what Stephanie was talking about, is asking you to log your every hour, like, what are you doing between 7 and 8? What are you doing between 8 and 9? What are you doing between 9 and 10? That is not what you should be doing at all. We recognize that this type of e-learning is going to take a lot more of more latitude with our to meet the needs of the kids and the families. The district even recognizes that there are some households that have one computer for 3 or 4 kids. That maybe another adult has to use a computer, so everyone's not doing their e-learning work at the same exact time, much the way that you would take it and kind of do your distance learning at your, whenever you can kind of fit it in. So we kind of have to be kind of malleable and flexible on that as well, and that's what we've asked the district. The district believes that you need to be treated as professionals, and we agree. So if you are being asked to log things that you think are above and beyond the few things that we're talking about here, you need to contact us so that way we can contact the district. Yes?
Well, I was going to say, just sort of looking at some of your questions on this. First of all, we know any log does not have a school board number. On that one, I'm going to say, obviously, they haven't had a chance since stay-at-home functions have been kind of put in place. They have not had a chance to have the school board, the forms committee meet. We do have reps on the forms committee, so that is a little bit indicative of the emergency situation we're in. So that frankly is not my number one concern about it. My number one concern is what Rob is saying, is that we don't overdo it with all of you. So first of all, to be clear, if you're contacting people on EDSB, that is logged within EDSB. You don't have to log it somewhere else. And so if you're keeping up that communication, your administrator can get in and see that. You should not have to keep it separately. Where we would probably suggest you do it just for your own, records, is if you have kids who aren't connecting with learning in the way you want them to, and you're trying to call parents, you may want to jot down that I've tried to call John Doe's parents, 6 times this week. Because at the end of the week, in that holistic sense Rob was talking about, and consistent with the superintendent's directive, kids who have not engaged all week are the ones you're going to send to your DP and to your counselors to potentially have somebody else be following up with those families. But other than that, if you're connecting on EDSB with parents, that is already logged, so you do not have to log it again. And I would say, again, if you're also recording your Zoom lessons, you have a recorded event of who participated. The goal here is not to make you have to do an inordinate amount of record keeping and secretarial work on top of everything that's being asked of you.
And I would like to just double down on what I said in the original message last week, which is, was it this week? Boy, they go fast on that.
We're losing total track of time over here.
Just that we're living through a situation that it's unprecedented. So the idea that we no longer have an FSA, and we no longer have, which we will not be having teacher evaluations this year. Our goal as educators is to bring those kids that which they need. So look at your curriculum, look at what they haven't gotten, look at those things that you wish, hey, I wish I had more time for this, and find a way to meet that need for those kids. That's the best thing that we could do. And I'm asking all of you as members is to really look at what we're, with this situation as an opportunity to kind of really push forward with some of the things that we would want to do in the classroom that we've kind of been shackled by for so many years. So I know sometimes it's frustrating and it's difficult because we've never done this before, but look for avenues and ways that, hey, this is what's really going to help this class with this type of activity, or what are the best ways? It might be Zoom might be the best way to meet your kids, or offering them those creative assignments that they could work on with the work that you've already, the groundwork that you've laid during the school year using EDSB. So you have all of these abilities and ways to go. You have that autonomy to make the decisions that are best for your kids. So I'm imploring you to please use this as that opportunity.
I do want to give what I would call is, one of those things we say at the beginning of the year, usually when we're in new teacher orientation and things like that. I do want to always give you all the caution to remember to be cautious about how you use social media. The reality is, I know that all of you are going above and beyond. But sometimes joking posts can be taken the wrong way, and so we do want to make sure you're always putting out your best professional foot on social media, and just to always keep that in mind. I think we're all going a little I know I'm going a little stir crazy at my house, and I'm sure all of you are too. But just remember that always in the back of your mind. It's good advice to live by in terms of your use of social media. Just generally as a person aside from your job as a teacher.
We talked about it a little bit with the e-lessons and the virtual lessons. We haven't talked about the packets. Now, the district and we're all trying to meet the needs of the kids wherever they're at, and we know that in for some groups and in some communities and schools, they're using packets to make sure that the kids are getting that which they need. And the questions come back like, what are we going to do with those packets and how are we going to go about grading them? The answer is we don't have a firm answer on that yet, but we should make sure that we're giving the kids something of quality that they could do and that we know that they could do without us with the one-on-one or the instruction that we're giving in the classroom. I've asked the district for what is the plan for when these packets come back. We're waiting to hear from that on that. Remember, we still have a few unanswered questions, so we're going to do our best to answer the questions that you have, but I know that that's one that I've heard a lot. I've also heard from teachers that they might not know that when a parent emails you through EDSB, you also get that email that comes up in your first class. So when that happens, that's just really there to remind you that, hey, this parent has emailed you. The best way is to go into EDSB then to respond to that parent. And once again, that's captured there and that's public record. So that's something in case you did not know that doubles down. I know a lot of elementary school teachers are pretty much flummoxed by it because they haven't been using EDSB all along, and now they're being asked to kind of get in there. And thank you for doing it with the zest that you're doing it. I can see and hearing every day.
Yeah.
So do we have any questions? We have a first-time caller maybe?
So first-time caller. So we do have a question about administrators talking about this log and that this log is needed so you can get paid. So let me clarify. You are getting paid. You are going to get paid what your traditional pay is unless you put in for leave. And I do want to note for those, because we have had questions about Spark and Renaissance pay, you will continue to get Spark and Renaissance pay. You will continue to get pay for the things that are commonly done. So for instance, if you're a teacher who has a T-payroll for teaching an extra class, that will continue because obviously you're doing work with that class online. There are a couple things that will not be paid because they aren't taking place. And so if you are a teacher who, for instance, worked in the host program, the host program is not happening, and so you wouldn't get paid for something like that. But other supplements, department head supplements, athletic supplements, those, as far as, as we understand, are going to be paid exactly as planned. The one other thing I would say, what we found is that sometimes messages aren't filtering down to sites as quickly as we'd like. So we will handle some of these administrators asking for proof you've worked. Again, you're professionals. You're doing things with your kids every day. I don't think you need to be nickel and dimed about every minute of your day. And so that is what we are going for. And again, we're going to try to make sure that both area superintendents and principals understand how to professionally treat people in a very different environment. Because look, as much as sometimes a principal may frustrate us, I'm also going to say, just as this is new for all of you, it's new for all of them too. And so I have tried to approach things with, what's the word, more grace than I might normally, because I think people aren't, this is new for them. And so sometimes they're just making sure they're trying to protect you guys. But I do want to say for the record, there's no pay issue. You don't have to fill out a log to get paid. On pay, I do want to note, I've gotten a question or two about the Family First Coronavirus Protection Act information that got sent out to all of you. So that, the district was required to send it. We're a covered employer. That simply guarantees that you can have up to 2 weeks if you are sick with pay, and then that it has 2/3 pay in some other circumstances, such as if you're taking care of a sick person. So it's in essence an expansion of family medical leave, and it gives some form of pay in a situation where you might not otherwise get it. The district is asking you to fill out a form, and again, this just got passed, as you all know, by Congress last week, so the form doesn't have an SB number, but I did look at it. They're asking you to fill out the form because there is a potential, I think it's not 100% clear now, how employers would collect federal funds, but if, for instance, you were sick with coronavirus and couldn't teach, or as an ESP couldn't show up to work for whatever reason, they just want the form so that they know they have a means to slot the leave differently in their system, so they can potentially collect that
Right, they have to recoup the money from
Fed,
the
so they can recoup it. But again, that form is only to be filled out if you are taking leave because you are sick or you're caring for someone who is sick or have been forced into an isolation kind of circumstance. So.
And we're trying to meet the needs of our members by doing things like Facebook Live, but this is not the only avenue in which to reach us. As a matter of fact, when Stephanie talks about those that say, hey, if you don't do X, then you won't get paid, quite honestly, anytime that someone tells you if you don't do X, then you won't get paid, that's an opportunity for you to reach out to us. That's why we'll have your back. So please, anytime you're getting a form saying, if you don't put your name on this form, you don't have the right heading, then you're not going to get paid, please call us, because we'll tell you that you can put your heading here or over here, or you don't have to have a heading at all.
Right.
And you're going to get paid.
So April 10th?
Yes.
April 10th and the 20th are still teacher work days. Okay, that is a question that I got.
That is the question.
Oh, that is a question,
That is
yes.
the question.
Those are still non-student days.
No.
And so for our teachers, you are able, you do not have to be interacting daily with the students in that regard. You could be grading if you want, or doing those kind of things.
That was a question from our
They are
producer, I
non-student
think, where she's
days,
taking
yes.
questions.
Yeah, we have to
Great.
we have to give a shout out. We have to give a shout out to our assistant director Paula, who's our producer today, as well as Octavio has joined us, a friend of ours, formerly from the Times, to help us with some of our photography and videos right now. So we're excited to have him on board the CTA team to help us communicate with you.
Other questions? What do we have?
Do we still have to do PLCs?
So if you think of this in the same way you would think of a school day, PLCs that are during your workday, that are on an appropriate day, such as, for instance, a Tuesday or an early release Monday, are PLCs you can be asked to do. We know schools have voluntary things that happen all the time, and we would say, great if those things are voluntary, but if somebody wants to have a PLC after work hours on a Wednesday, no, you do not have to attend. Again, if it's something useful for you, I think these are good times to connect with your colleagues. Like, I think I see on social media and other places where teachers are really connecting and helping each other. So I think this is a good time where some of those PLCs, we know you're overwhelmed, but if principals are doing them well, or coaches or resource, if those are being done well, they could be helping you with some things that are unique to this environment. So we definitely want to encourage you to stay connected, but just as on a normal time, if it's not during, not during the workday, not on a Monday afternoon or on an early release or a Tuesday, you do not have to attend.
And if a principal's asking you to PLC instead of a faculty meeting, then by all means you should be.
Yeah.
And I would like to believe that this is the greatest time ever to need and use our PLCs. Let's get in there and talk to our coworkers and say, hey, what are you doing and what's working well for you? And hey, what am I doing over here? And then kind of spreading the wealth and sharing that which is working and not working. I think there's no better time ever to PLC than now, but you're only required based still upon your contract. So please abide by it.
And the other piece is, look, remember that if you look at, again, what the superintendent talked about connecting with kids and looking holistically over the course of the week, I think it is completely legitimate. If you, for instance, are a high school teacher and say you're finding a lot of those students are really active in the early evening or the evening because, for instance, during the day they're watching younger brothers and sisters, or they have less time on the computer because they're sharing it, whatever the case may be. If you find that at those later times or when you're reaching kids, it's also perfectly legitimate, I think, to say to your administrators, hey, at 3 o'clock when you want to have this PLC is really when my kids have been the most active. How do you want me to handle that? Because I think in the end, the goal is you connecting with your students and keeping learning going. So I would say that's, again, a legitimate conversation to have with your administrators.
We're here to make sure that you guys are treated as professionals, and I think what Stephanie's speaking to is exactly that. Paul, what are the questions that we have?
So we want to know if we have any news about extending the deadline for those who need to recertify this.
So there is, we will send out, I think, I just got something today. We got something from FEA about, with more detailed guidance from the DOE. I believe there's a specific code you can use to get a waiver on funds and things such as that. Paula, I don't know if you have that handy or you can post the link in the Facebook Live, but if not, we'll get that up on the CTA website this evening so that we can so that you can see the DOE guidance, or if any of you are just burning to do it right this second, the Department of Ed did put out something today, which I assume is on their website as well.
FEA was looking into a couple things for all of our members. Also a code to take any state exams. They're going to be releasing a code so that way you get a free exam in there.
I think that's in what we got.
Yeah, I don't think the code is out yet, but
Okay.
they're working on that. And they were looking to ask the DOE for an extension for the reading certification. So right now, starting in July, you would have 3 years in which to get your reading certification. So FEA is going to ask the DOE for an extension of that. They don't know about how feasible that is, but that ask is coming, and we will report back to you about that.
Still getting questions from people about final evaluations for teachers.
Okay, so
People are being told that they need to go in and fill out their paperwork and their self-eval because they're going to have a final evaluation still.
Okay, I can tell you, we have absolutely, the governor and the Department of Ed have waived the requirement under state law to evaluate you this year. We are in the midst of working on an MOU with the district, but you are not going to be evaluated this year. Now, for those of you who are effective and highly effective, which is the vast majority of you, if you're wondering, does that somehow hurt you? It does not. As far as we can, the best and the brightest, which was really the performance-based aspect where being effective or highly effective gave you a certain amount of money, there is nothing about that in state law. And so that would be, there's no reason to worry that you wouldn't get a bonus of some sort. Again, we do have to work out the details with the district, but as far as we are concerned, they shouldn't be pursuing final evaluations.
And I will say, I'm not sure that principals were actually alerted to that yet.
They may not have been.
That might be, we
Principals
might have
may
broke
not-
that,
yeah,
that news.
Yeah, principals may not know some of this yet, and again, we're in discussions with the district. One piece I want to tell you is even without an evaluation, and part of why we would say no evaluations are, there are some of you who have not been, haven't had a formal this year. You haven't had an administrator in your room. That can often be the case for our highly effective and veteran teachers. Principals put you kind of at the end because they're not worried. So first of all, there's not data necessarily for some people to complete the process. There are some of you though who people have seen. And there's nothing wrong with a principal having a conversation or following up to coach you or just have a practice kind of conversation. That can certainly happen, as it could anytime with one of your administrators. But in terms of official eval, it should not be happening this year. So we will make sure we get with the district so they can give principals more information. And also, again, we're working on putting some of this in writing. That's probably what the district is waiting for.
And last I heard from the district is that there could be a meeting that you would have with your administration towards at the end of the year, but it would just be a non-evaluative meeting about, hey, this is what worked, this is what I'm working on, and this is what I could look forward to next year. Things of that nature, but nothing that would be in your portfolio, or I don't think we're using the word bucket anymore. Wherever it is, that is. We're not going to be.
However you term it.
Right. I think I worked with them the other day to say it would be a non-evaluative meeting,
Yeah.
whatever that means. Paul, what else we have?
Okay, so I'm looking, I think you've answered a lot of these. We're hearing early release Mondays, water teacher hours.
If we were holding teachers to exactly like where you were from 8 to 9 and 9 to 10, then early release Mondays would be more, it would be more of an issue. But since we're being held as professionals, you would be delivering lessons for that amount of time and then helping and working to grade the papers and
Right.
meet with
Doing your planning,
doing what you do.
doing the normal things you would do on early release. It could be PLCs. Some of you do have standard waivers at your sites on more PLCs on those Mondays. So certainly team planning and other things could be something that's happening, or just you grading and planning. Again, planning in this new environment is in many respects more important than it was in the past. Planning's always important, but here you not only are planning for kids, but you're planning how to reach them through a fully different platform. So
I know that you're learning every single
day
day right now
kids,
about how it's going down. What else we have?
They're all variations of things you've already answered.
Okay.
I think that the important thing maybe to let them know is remind them, as you already have, to call us.
Right.
Because I'm seeing lots of comments, but our principal said.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Paul is telling us, principals may be telling you different things. So like I said at the beginning, I do think, obviously we're in a situation nobody planned on, and that's unprecedented. That makes communication more challenging at every level of the organization. We have a new superintendent who I do want to give credit for walking into a scenario again that I wouldn't wish on anybody, and also trying to wrap your arms around a very large organization and understand all the moving parts. So he's been working around the clock, and he's been great, by the way, at talking with us. So I want to say that. Same with, again, our current deputy soups and HR.
Mm-hmm.
We have definitely been in contact with all of them daily. But as we're having conversations and we're working out all the details, it may be that messages haven't fully transferred to principals. Give them a little bit of patience, because I don't know what principals have been told on every front. And so they may be going with what they know. But we're going to make sure after, again, hearing from all of you, we're going to make sure that we probably craft some communication that can come out jointly, that we make sure all principals get. Every principal is different. There's some that, no matter how clear it is, are going to do what they want, and there's some that are going to follow the rules as given to them at any point in time. So just call us, because we can work out the details on a lot of things, and are happy to do it. while we're working remotely, let me repeat for anybody who didn't see our video the other day, while we're working remotely, our switchboard is open. Might be a little slower, or you might get a message because we don't have multiple lines when the phone is going to somebody's house. But we are getting all those messages, and they are getting distributed to your reps if you call our front line. Our website has got a whole list for any of you who don't know of the reps in any given cluster and their email. So definitely look at that if you're not sure who your cluster reps are. Go to them and absolutely, keep us in the loop, because we can't fix problems we don't know about. So.
Yeah, just to double down on what Stephanie's saying, anytime that we're giving you information and then you're saying, yeah, but my principal said, or at my site we're doing this, that's another opportunity. Call us, email us, that's what we're here for you. And even though we're working remotely and our staff is all over the district, they're troubleshooting every issue they can, but we need to know about it in order to be able to help you with it. So please call us or email us if you're having a specific issue.
One more.
Yeah.
Just generally addressing the pairs. I've had several different flavors of pairs saying, what about pairs? What about kindergarten assistants? What about?
So for our paras who are in a classroom, and I'm going to speak very broadly right now, but for our paras who are in classrooms, whether it's a kindergarten assistant, an assistant teacher, bilingual aides, ESE aides, talk with your primary teacher about how you can help. I know, for instance, one of our board members is a bilingual aide. She has been on with families throughout this whole piece. And so her teacher and her are communicating, and she's making sure she's the language bridge for that family. So for ESE classes, I know that some paras are doing kind of one-on-one Zooms with ESE kids where they, where that is what they functionally think is going to work best. But talk to your teacher and offer assistance in any way you can. That assistance could be, again, doing remote teaching, but it could also be that you're helping connect with parents on the phone and otherwise. I want to add on that for paras. If you don't have the means, for instance, a home computer to do some of this, certainly let your teacher and your admin know. The district right now, their primary first response was to get computers out to kids who didn't have them. If there are leftover computers and we have staff in need, we will certainly work to try to make sure that happens. But I'd also say if you have things at home, use them. Use them and do as much as you can remotely.
I agree.
All right.
We have any other questions on there?
I'm scanning real quick here.
Because if we don't get to your question right here on Facebook Live, that doesn't mean it's your only avenue. Like I said, you can email us and you can call us, and we will definitely respond to your questions. Right now, our goal is to be meeting with you guys every Tuesday through this medium at this time on the same bat channel, so that way we can answer any kind of questions that we might have. But like I said, we just want to come out and be available to all of our members throughout what is unprecedented, and I understand we've never been through anything like this. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. You have a question, it looks like? You got one queued up?
Are there a required number of assignments it has to be given?
No. Is there a number of required assignments? No. Once again, I would say that as a classroom teacher, you're the expert on what's going to be needed by the students. If you put something out on Monday and they all had it done by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, well, by golly, I would think that you can have something back up on Tuesday. But if you have something up on Monday and only a couple of kids that have gotten there, I mean, if we really look at our attendance procedures, we're saying like a weekly kind of getting the assignments done and check-in. So I can't tell you that there's a precise and a perfect number, other than your kids and what your communities are asking you to do. So we're confident that you can meet those needs of those kids.
Yeah.
Do you want to address the fact that they shouldn't get too dependent on the app?
Oh, Paula has asked us, we have said this in some of our written materials, and we have talked about it at CTA Rep Council, but if any of you haven't heard this, the company that makes the Hillsborough CTA app is going out of business. This was prior to the virus. It doesn't have anything to do with that. But we are so we will no longer have the app after April 15th. And so Some of you, I know, the aspect we love about the app is not only are we answering questions, but you are helping each other, and that's a piece we want to try to figure out how to keep in another medium. But we would definitely say, especially in this time where we're also having some connectivity issues with the app, that probably shouldn't be the primary thing you rely on. So for instance, I couldn't get on it for a couple days, and so if you don't see me answering, if you don't see Rob answering, if you don't see Paula answering, we may have missed something because of connectivity. And so it's hard for us to get them to fix any of that since they're going out of business. This is an it is what it is scenario. We're looking for other mediums. It may not be we have anything perfect or exactly the same in the next 2 weeks. But again, email us, call the office. We're doing a little bit of old school and new school in how we respond to people, but our main goal is always to respond to you. So make sure you're connected with your reps and with us that way. And if you ever forget our emails, our emails are all on the Hillsborough CTA website, which is hillsboroughcta.org.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I just want to say, hey, thank you for being here today. Continue to be patient. Okay. Be positive. I know that it's a little frustrating sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you can't get into your email. That's life telling you to get another cup of coffee, by the way. That's how I do that, right?
I'm gonna use that.
And know that
I
we're
can
here
always
for
use
you,
another cup of coffee.
and we have your back. So
Yes.
thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
And
everybody.
We'll see you next week at this time, and email us or call us if you have any other questions. Thank you very
And
much.
In the middle of any of this, if we have any big announcements on things, we will both email your personal email. We will try the district, but again, I want to reiterate, we've had some issues with email not getting to you as speedily as we'd like. But we'll also be posting on the CTA website, so those are places you can check. And we may do some short videos if we can answer a quick question. So
Yep, very good.
good talking to y'all.
All right, be safe, everyone.